G'day everyone and welcome to the final minor round edition of the Weekend Wrap, brought to you by Crowcast, of course. A good way to finish off the season in some people's eyes, maybe not so good in other people's, but without any further ado, let's just crack into the intro and get right into it, shall we? G'day. Welcome everyone to the final edition of the Weekend Wrap for the minor round in 2020. And a good win by the Crows in the end. And joining me for now, hopefully with a little bit of additional support in a few minutes, we have Macca. How you go, Mac?
Oh, pretty good, mate. Good game today. And as I said to you off air, a little bit bittersweet. We lose pick 2, but we looked like a good side. So, it was a good day.
It was indeed. G'day to everyone who's joined us on Discord and on YouTube, of course. Cast of thousands in the live studio audience there. Bit of a rabble. We had a bit of a mosh going on, Mac, while we were waiting to kick off for the late start. So hopefully people appreciated it. But so what do you reckon? Like bittersweet, I guess. We had a resounding win. We sent off the lads in good style, all that sort of stuff. And yet we dropped 2 places in the pecking order on the draft.
Yeah, and that's the downside of it. And it was a surprising game because I watched all the games very closely, and North Melbourne's form up until this game had been very good. And I thought we would have a real struggle to win this game, and I thought we could genuinely lose it, not tanking, but just genuinely lose it, possibly.
Yep.
But the effort they put in was pretty poor, and
it was very poor, Mac.
I think even if we tanked, we would have still won.
It was very poor. Look, we could have played with arms tied behind our back, and we still wouldn't have lost that game. North Melbourne had absolutely no appetite for it whatsoever, in my opinion.
Didn't give a yelp.
Didn't give a yelp at all, never mind. Look, mate, as is usually the case, and we are waiting for Nikki. She was coming on the bus. We did give her an extra half an hour. She hasn't quite shown up yet, but I'm sure she'll drop in at some stage during the cast. So while we're waiting for that little extravaganza, why don't we head into your little extravaganza, shall we?
Let's do it.
I don't know whether you heard that, Mac, but I had your theme song going, which was always nice.
No, I don't get to hear it, unfortunately. And
you don't get to hear it? Never mind.
I wish I could, even if it's just taking the piss out of me, I still like it.
All right, let's have a look at the scores for the round. A pretty interesting round with, of course, the top 4 playing. And on Friday night, the Bulldogs and the Power kicked it off. And the Bulldogs started really well. It looked like they were in control. And then the Power just got the points in the end and knocked the Bulldogs, as it turned out, with other results, knocked them out of the 4, which was a pretty costly loss in the end by the Bulldogs, going down 10-4-64 to the Power 9-12-66, 2 points.
Yeah, look, it was a very dynamic round. All the games, basically, most of them were very dynamic and had a great effect on bearing on where the ladder was and who plays who in the finals. And this was one of the key ones. And the Bullies, they jumped Port early, and I thought, 4 roll up, you beauty, they're going to kick Port's ass and show them that Port Adelaide's no good and they won't do any good in the finals. And For the next 2 quarters, it was pretty even, but to Port's credit, and you have to give them the credit, they finished it strongly, and they hit the front 5 minutes to go, and Wines, Boat, Gray, they were outstanding for Port. Then the Dogs, they've lost their last three, and they dropped. They were top 3 weeks ago, and they've dropped initially down to fourth, and then ultimately when Brisbane won, down to fifth. And I had them as the potentially the possible premier, but gee, you really have to wonder now.
Agreed. Their form has really dropped off, hasn't it? And surprisingly so. I wonder whether what's his bloody name? The coach. Who's the Bulldogs coach again?
Beveridge.
Hi
guys.
Hey, Nick.
Good on you, Nick. Good on you, Nicky.
I wonder whether Beveridge outsmarts himself sometimes.
I think he does. Now, for example, he's ruckman. He's been training this big, tall, young ruckman all year, and then leaves him up in the forward line all most of the game. And Port's ruckman, Lysett, he just killed them. So, I think he does outsmart himself.
Yeah. Port, though, you can't deny their form. They've got players back and they've had a few games into them. I think their forward setup is a bit of a threat if their midfield get going. And their midfield certainly did get going. I think their defence is a little bit of their Achilles heel. But they can certainly put a score on.
Yeah, the other thing they did do, big raps to William Drew, who reduced Bontempelli to a pretty ordinary game. But you're right about Port Adelaide. I've been saying they can't win the flag. Well, maybe they can. It's a horrible thought. Absolutely horrible thought. But, look, their forward line is their most dangerous line. And they've got good mids if they feed them. And if they can get on top in the mids, then they are dangerous. And I'd hate to win it. I'd hate it. But I'm still going to say they can't.
Fair enough. Okay, and then what did we have? We had, rather fittingly, I guess, if you're sentimental, Hawthorn and Richmond fighting out a draw with a couple of late goals at the end to the Tigers by Jack Revolt getting them over the line, or getting them up to the line, I should say. 12-11, 83 apiece. A few players bowing out on both sides, and of course Alistair Clarkson's last game as coach, and we said he wouldn't drop a game, Macca, and he didn't drop a game.
No, he was a little bit pissed off about the draw, I'm sure.
I think he was.
I think we nearly had a hole in the wall. It was hilarious.
Yeah, because look, the Hawks were too good all day. And it was 6.5 minutes to go. Hardwick just took his headgear off and threw it away. He'd given up. But then Richmond just went berserk. They got 2 quick goals. But the turning point was Bramble, who now when they get a point and they run out of the goal square, they've been running, instead of running 15 metres, they've been running 20, 25. I don't know why Bramble thought he could get away with 40.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
That gave away a goal and just opened up and and then that ended up as a draw. And I thought the Hawks deserved to win, but that mistake by Bramble was very, very costly and just turned the result of the game into a draw.
It certainly did. Both teams missing the final. Richmond missing the finals for the first time in about 4 or 5 years, I think. And not often a reigning premier misses the finals the next year. But they're going to have to do a little bit of list turnover, I think, if they're going to remain competitive over the next couple of years. So certainly I don't think they'll be the powerhouse they have been up until this season.
No, look, we've got other teams rising, haven't we, that are going to take their place. It's not saying that they can't be top 8 material, but I think their premiership days have gone.
For now, yeah. The Swans absolutely belting the Suns and consolidating their place in the finals contention. 21-10, 136 to disappointing Gold Coast 6-13, 49, 87 points in the end. Yeah,
look, the good thing about this game was I didn't see much of it.
I can top you.
But
I
yeah,
didn't see any of it.
well,
Me neither.
well, Buddy got 6 goals, Buddy, and I think he only needs about 6 or 7 now to get his 1,000. Um, Dawson, the guy that they keep saying Adelaide's trying to get in, and probably won't. 33 possession with 16 marks. He was very, very good.
Not bad at all.
Yeah, and yeah, look, it's just really just was a nice tune up for the Swans for the finals without taking up too much effort and too much out of them. And Gold Coast quite pathetic as usual.
Good tune up for the Swans, I reckon. And then we had the Lions not only winning by 38 points over the Eagles, but squeaking over the line in terms of jagging a top 4 spot, 19-11-125 to 13-9-87. A little bit of controversy picked up by Tom Morris with regards to the timekeeping, but I reckon if you scrutinise every game of AFL football, you would see timekeeping errors. And I think Tom Morris was... not Tom Morris, what's that little squirt's name?
Tom Morris.
Is that Tom Morris's? No, is it
Yeah.
Tom Morris? Anyway, him. Yeah, I think he was just looking for it. But yeah, the Lions by 38 points in the end and hitting some good form heading into the final series.
Yeah, look, Brisbane led the game all day, and West Coast were playing catch up all the day, trying to catch up. But Brisbane were just too good overall, and Natanui, I've got to say, Natanui was a spectacular game as a ruckman. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He had 29 disposals for him, apart from his ruck work, and you would have thought that would have got them over the line. And Shuey wasn't too bad, and Yo wasn't too bad, but yeah, not enough good players on the ground, and overall Brisbane just too good. Zorko was very, very good, and Neil I thought came back to form as well.
Yeah, I think West Coast rely on too few, Mac. I think they need a bit of a refresh around the edges, that team. And the Lions, it's a handy top 4 in this final series, I think, because the top 4 are quite evenly spread, I think. So getting in there with a double chance is good for them. Okay, Melbourne. Sorry, go on, Nick.
Hang on. Yeah, just on that one, Mac, it just seemed like to me that West Coast tired in that last quarter, I think, which helped Brisbane get a bit of the run on.
Yeah, I think you're right, Nicky. And in fact, that was one of the fascinating things of the whole game, really, was the last few minutes. Whether Brisbane had to get another point to get from 5th into 4th position over the Dogs. And it got down there, they didn't get it. They got down there, they didn't get it. They finally got a point not long before the end, only seconds, really. And they from the kick out, and Charlie Cameron's got a goal out of it. So that just to sewed it up. But that part of it was quite fascinating, actually.
Yep. We had the D's finishing on top for the first time in quite a while, 12-9-81 to 12-5-77 over the Cats, 4 points. And pretty good achievement by Melbourne, all things considered.
Yeah, I'm not really sure what this actually tells us, Dean, because it was a great match, and Melbourne were totally demolished by Geelong in the second quarter. Geelong using their possession style game, and at half time it was 12 goals whatever to 3 goals whatever, and you'd say, gee, Melbourne are going to get an absolute hiding, and but they fought their way back, and and they just kept eating away at it, and you could see that in that last quarter that Melbourne had got right on top. Oliver was quite outstanding in the centre, and the big guy as well, Gorn. He was absolutely fantastic, and ironically he took a mark with 2 seconds to spare and kicked the winning goal. But it was Geelong style looked very good in the first quarter, first half really, and you'd say on that. Good enough to win a flag. And in the second half, the way that Melbourne ran all over Geelong with their style and got on top, and so they can win a flag. But yeah, so in the end, it was only a kick in it, and I think both those two teams are very well. I think they both of them are ahead of Port in my eyes as the likely premier.
Yeah, I wonder whether Geelong's game style works as well on the MCG, Mac. whether it's sustainable for 4 quarters on the MCG. Melbourne reconfigured a bit, as you mentioned, and were able to just start to pick them off a little bit. And I don't know. Melbourne looked pretty good in the second half of that game.
All over them in the second half, yeah.
Yep. The Giants rating on Eddie's Parade and possibly David Teague's as well, 12-17, 89 to 11-9, 75, 14 points there in the end to the Giants.
Yeah, having seen Teague speaking on TV, well, he's virtually saying almost said goodbye and I don't deserve it. But, I don't know whether he does or doesn't.
No. I reckon I was saying this is what happens. I reckon Al Clarkson has a little bit of a rest. They give Teague the first half of next season, and they got Clarkson on speed dial to come in about halfway through. That's what I reckon.
But Clarkson will only do that if he can get rid of some of those people behind the scenes afterwards.
Yes, that's the real thing.
Yeah.
I think you don't touch that club because it's a death knell for coaches. Just with what we've seen over and over again with interference from the upper echelon who should just know their place.
Well said, I agree.
I don't often agree with Liam Pickering, but his statement during the week about his thoughts on Ross Lyon's little cameo on Footy Classified during the week. That was Ross Lyon is a grub. He's an absolute grub. And it's not the first time. I mean, let's not forget he was involved in some pretty underhanded boardroom shenanigans to get over to Freo as well. And prior to that, he bled St Kilda's list dry in his pursuit for a premiership. I have no time for Ross Lyon as a person, and I feel like David Teague was not done any service by the Carlton Football Club by essentially giving Ross Lyon licence to conduct a public relations exercise on Footy Classified during the week.
I couldn't argue with one word you said there. I think a grub describes him very, very well. I think he's a man with no morals whatsoever.
No integrity, Macca. No integrity whatsoever.
Yeah, when it's something that's going to be beneficial to him, he doesn't care who he hurts.
That's correct, 100% correct. I mean, here we are, David Teague, second-year coach. He's a young coach. There's been lots of talk about the strains and stresses on coaches in AFL. And Ross Lyon, if he had any integrity, he would have said, look, I'll let my record speak for itself. And if Carlton want to employ me, they can do so, the normal way around. But for him to get on TV on whenever it was, Wednesday night, and to do a number on David Teague like that, it was disgusting. And
very quickly. Sorry.
I was just going to finish off by saying Carlton and Ross Lyon are a match made in heaven because they're a train wreck club and they'll be led by a train wreck coach.
After that statement, I can't add anything more because I think you just said it so well there, Fiend. That'll do.
Anyway. St Kilda finishing off their probably disappointing season in their eyes. 17-5, 107, 58-point winners over the Dockers, 6-13, 49. Dockers would be also disappointed with that final result given their previous week's win. And they'll be looking to reload next season. I think the Dockers are on the rise. They need to nail a couple of picks or get a couple of trades right, I think.
Yep, 100% right there too. And also they must learn to kick goals when they have a shot for goal rather than point. But it was the good St Kilda that turned up. There are two St Kilda. There's the one that comes out and doesn't give much of an effort at all, and then there's the other one that comes out that gives 100% like they did today, and they've got a quality captain in Steele. He's an amazing player, and Marshall is easily the best ruck forward in the competition, and those two guys really shone today, and they were very, very instrumental in the win. So yeah,
agreed.
St Kilda just too good.
Yep. The Bombers, the most exciting team out of the top four, in my opinion, Macca, as I've said for a couple of weeks now, 16-6, 102, providing GWS with our pick 2, courtesy of Collingwood, 9-10, 64. Predictable victory, unfortunately, and the Bombers hitting the final series in very good nick, in my opinion.
They are, and they are in good nick, but it's whether they're quite ready yet to take that step. They probably can they might win a final or two, but I mean they haven't got the team to go all the way. There's no doubt about that.
No, not at this stage. Not at this stage.
They're still a work in progress. But I am with you. I do enjoy always watching the Bombers because they do play a fairly exciting brand of footy, and I didn't see a lot of it, but because obviously with our game on, but the part I did see of it, yeah, I enjoyed it, and Collingwood, they've got all the work to do to recover. It'll be interesting to see who's going to be their coach for next year.
Yeah. Well, again, Ross Lyon didn't mind throwing Collingwood's board under the bus in terms of saying he wouldn't touch him with a barge pole because of the unrest. So, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'd be insulted if I was a Collingwood board to say that with Ross Lyon saying that.
Anyway. All right, let's have a quick look at the ladder, and this is how it finished up. We had Melbourne on top with 70 points. Port Adelaide second clear on 68 points. Geelong clear in third on 64 points. Brisbane squeaking in over the Bulldogs and also the Swans in the end on 60 points. The Bulldogs are very disappointed with that, I would imagine, and will face Essendon. That'll be a fascinating first week of the final series. Western Bulldogs versus Essendon. Sydney on 60. GWS finally getting in there. They did everything they possibly could not to, but they got in the end, 46 points, and the Bombers, of course, on 44. West Coast would be disappointed with the back half of their season on 40, with St Kilda and Fremantle. Richmond, as we mentioned, missing the finals after being the reigning premiers on 38. Carlton on 32. Hawthorn on 32. Bloody Adelaide on 28. Won too many games. Gold Coast tanked hard to get to 16th on 28 points. Collingwood on 24, and North Melbourne probably deservedly so. Although a little bit more promising this year, but still a long way to go on 18 points. All right. So just we'll look at the first week of the finals just quickly, and just a reminder, anyone on the live studio audience, if you want to have a say, just stick your hand up and we'll get you on board. Plenty of time tonight to have a bit of a chat, so don't be shy. So we've got, as it stands at the moment, who knows with COVID, but on Friday night we've got Port and Geelong at Adelaide Oval. That's going to be a difficult game for Geelong, I believe.
Yeah, I think Port have got a very good chance to go into the preliminary in this particular game. Yeah. At home they'll have. Well, I don't know what number of crowd will be allowed, but it doesn't matter. Like 20 Port supporters sound like about 50,000. So, even if they get 15, 20,000 there in the crowd, or 25,
I think it's 15 capped. I think
15 capped, is it? Well,
I think
15 Port supporters will still sound like about 50. They are a very vigorous supporting team.
Yep.
Crowd, sorry, and. I think Porter actually played very, very well, and they actually played themselves out of a difficult position and showed that they can do that. And Geelong relied very, very heavily on possession of the ball. And if you can break that chain, then you can just really get them. And I think Port might just do that.
Yeah. The only thing in the Cats' favour is that the Adelaide Oval is a skinny ground like GMHBA. So their style of game should work. They tend to get found out on wide grounds, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see how Port set up. A lot will depend on who gains the ascendancy in the middle, in my opinion, because both sides have potent forward lines and can kick goals. Just depends, I think, on who gets on top early in the midfield. Saturday we have the Swans playing the Giants at Tasmania. In Tasmania. A final in Tasmania, eh?
Yep.
Not one, but two.
And that venue just throws up all sorts of possibilities, in my opinion.
For me, I think it suits the Swans.
Small ground, do you reckon?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably right.
I agree. I agree on that point.
Yeah. And then, lucky us, we've got, this will be a good game to go and see, actually, on Saturday night next week, Melbourne versus the Lions at 7 p.m. at Adelaide Oval. I think that'll actually be a bit of a classic, to be honest with you. The Lions in good nick, Melbourne obviously in good nick, but can be a little bit flaky. I actually can't pick a winner out of that one, to be honest with you.
I think if Melbourne plays at the standard they did in the second half in the game just gone, I would say that Melbourne would win that game. But they didn't provide a very good first half. So they are flaky. I'll go for Melbourne though.
One of the keys, Mac, I reckon, is what you said earlier, that Lachie Neale just found a bit of the footy on the weekend.
He did.
If they start making the Melbourne midfield accountable, I think that's where they can get them. If you give Oliver and Petrarca license to run ahead of the ball and make multiple contests, they get you. But if the Lions make them accountable through the midfield, then it's going to be an interesting one. And the battle of the running sides on Sunday, also in Tasmania, Bulldogs versus Essendon. Bulldogs want to be careful. They might go out in the first week.
Well, I think it's actually a possibility.
I do too, Nikki.
If it comes down to the midfield, really, if the Dogs rely on that midfield, they totally rely on that midfield, because if we look up forward, they've got one or two players up there that can take marks, and they've lost one out through injury. So, and you go through the back lines, that they're not overly strong in the back lines either. They rely on the pint-sized guy to do most of the clearances. With me, it's the Bulldogs. When the midfield hands down, then they play very well. And it was shown. When their midfield was sort of half shut down, they got beat. And that'll be what they're going to have to do. And if they can shut down the midfield to even perhaps a medium to mediocre game, they can win it, but they won't.
I think the loss of Bruce has been underestimated with Bulldogs.
Yeah,
not so much because he's prolific on the scoreboard, but he's just another matchup. And what he does with Bruce in this team, it allows Bontempelli to go forward and also almost have their fourth defender, and be a bit dangerous around up forward. If I was going to pick an upset, this would be the one, I reckon.
Yes, and it would rely on shutting down the midfield, because I think with the Bulldogs, at their best, they have a mighty, mighty midfield, but it hasn't been really firing. Bontempelli was shut down, and McRae went reasonably well, but the others didn't do very much, and Liberatore, he didn't do that as much as normal. And if Essendon couldn't do that, they could win the game, because they play a very flashy type of football, and they can move the ball in very, very quickly indeed. And they could catch the Bulldogs out if they can do that. But, yeah, surely the Bulldogs midfield's going to fire. It hasn't for about three games. I think it's probably due to have a good one.
Well, pride on the line. One Pubs has got his hand up there, so we've invited you in, mate. Come in before we kick off our review of the Crows game. Don't be shy. Anyone else as well that wants to come in. One Pubs, how are you going?
Very well. How are you?
Pretty good, thanks, mate.
Good day, mate. What are you going to tell us?
Not a lot to tell. Just, I guess, today a bit of a strange feeling today, isn't it? Like we want the boys to win, but at the same stage, looking out for that pick 2. But at the end of it, I was just really rapt to see that last quarter, to see D-Mac and also Lynchy as well. Get those goals. Golan as well was great to get that goal in that quarter, but Yeah, just don't know how to feel about that. Like, one thing I wanted to quiz you guys on was Ned McHenry. He just seems to be progressing week after week, and today was really no exception. So, yeah, really like to get your thoughts on his game and where you see the future for Ned.
I'd like to go first because I was one that bagged the shit out of him last year. I'm sticking with chin. I'm sticking my chin out and taking it right on the chin because this boy has been as every game's gone on this year. I think he's just got better and better and better, and I can see that he's going to be a very, very good player for us down the track. I couldn't even see a player in him last year, but this year I think he's been, and in recent weeks I just think he's been one of our very better players. And I was throwing Jones for good measure as well because I think everybody turned on Jones, but it's amazing.
Jones was great. Jones was great today.
Wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. A few little, I think there was a couple of turnovers there, but you know what? He's showing some really good signs off the half-back line. It's promising, absolutely.
Well, what I like about Jones coming off the half-back line is that he's got that blistering pace that we don't have much of in our team. And
Definitely.
And in general, his kicking is pretty good.
The thing I'll say about Ned is that he makes it very hard to drop him. He's got his disposal count up, into the high teens and low 20s. His pressure around the contest is excellent. He doesn't die wondering, and what sets him apart from the other small pressure guys like Lockie Murphy is that he knows his role, plays his role very well, and I'm still probably a little bit on the fence as to whether he's long term going to be in our 22, but certainly as the squad sits at the moment, he's comfortably in our best 22, and it's a credit to him because he started the year not in that situation at all. Chase Jones, and we'll go through players obviously later on, but Chase is obviously another one where I think none of us had him pegged as a best 22, but he's shown himself to be more than capable off that halfback line, and later on you'll hear a large squelching sound as I caught one for my last year's bagging of Kieran Strawn because hasn't he made me eat my words?
Wasn't that a turn up for the last couple of weeks?
Yeah. So
trade Rob.
Yeah. Paige, there was a bit of music playing, by the way.
What are your thoughts, Nikki, on Ned?
I've always liked him because I've watched a lot of him in the SNFL off with, and could see what he was doing in the midfield. And then the problem was that once he makes it into the AFL side, he gets not put in the midfield, he gets put on the half forward line, which we saw with Chase. It's often a death knell. They can't quite survive. But Ned has survived, and the other one who's able to survive in that position was Schoenberg, who's then demanded to go into the midfield, and deservedly so, and show him what he can do there. The interesting thing with Ned was he's improved all these other areas, but what he was really renowned for was that tackle pressure and the ability to stick a tackle, and yet that seems to have dropped off. He can't quite stick them the last couple of weeks, and I've found that a little bit interesting, whether that's a bit of tiredness or whatever.
That's a great point because his tackling today in watching that he was very close but not quite there. He always seemed to grab the Guernsey, all that sort of stuff. The effort was there, but he just it couldn't quite stick.
Yeah, and the other one on Jones was I watched him in the SNFL the start of the year when they were putting him in the back lines, and earlier on I think the guys remember I was pretty scathing because he was still giving too much space, which was what was cutting him out as a midfielder, was that he was always giving his opponent too much space. Then they put him in the AFL side, and I'm like, and he did it for a little bit, and now he's kind of got the feel of it playing as a defender. And for me, he is ultimately our Brown replacement, that quality deliverer out of the back lines, provide that run and speed, but he can take those fast, small forwards. And they don't realise how quick he is. Like, Brownie used to surprise the hell out of them as well with how quickly he could catch them and the anticipation. And I just see so much of Brownie and the way that Chase is playing, and that's who we need in our backlines.
That's very true, because you see how Brownie used to be that guy that would run off halfback and he would make himself an option forward of the play as well, and be able to get that goal. And we saw that today with Chase, who was able. If you saw the, obviously you were at the game. I watched on the TV, but
you would have seen closer than me. I was up in the bloody nosebleeds.
I saw Chase and the run that he was able to provide. I think he won the ball on the half back line, but continued to run forward, and he actually got a goal as a result of his hard running. And that's what we missed, and I don't think we have actually seen that from Brownie. Maybe it's been because of his injury or whatnot, but it's great to see that we have those players that are willing to run hard, make the space, and be that option to run forward and to go into goal. And he's a great kick. We know he's a great kick. And he was able to do that at least once today. Anyway, he got on the scoreboard, so that was very nice to see.
That goal was a beauty, because he actually ran about 2/3 of the ground to get
exactly right, Macca. Exactly right. It was a fantastic run.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but a couple of close-ups of Chase on the ground, I reckon he's grown a bit taller.
Or he's not shy. He's not hunched over. I wasn't sure whether he should be out there or not.
No. I just think he may have grabbed another inch or two. He's certainly more than capable of matching it aerially with mid-size forwards. He doesn't look as pint-sized as he did a couple of years ago. I wouldn't mind betting if he's just put on an inch or two.
I don't know about the height, but he's definitely stronger and more physically built than he used to be. He used to be very, very thin, but he looks very, very strong at the moment.
Mackie, you'd agree with me? Mackie, you'd agree with me? No man would ever be disheartened by gaining an inch or two, right?
Oh, dear.
One, finish it off, because we got Thumline in...
Thanks for having me, guys. On that note.
All right. Good to have you on, mate. Thanks very much for all your support as well.
Yeah, well done.
Always a pleasure, guys. You guys do an amazing job. So thank you very much. And keep it going.
Good on you, mate. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's bring the lion in, shall we? Thom, if you're ready, hop on board. And my apologies for that crass humour, Nick. It was completely intended.
Yeah, I know. Yes, it was bringing me back to the old days.
Yeah, we have cleaned up a little. We've straightened up in that regard. You're probably just a little bit stiff to hear that one. Now, Thom, how you going?
PJ beat you. PJ beat you to that one.
Yeah, I know. I stole it off him.
G'day, guys. How you going?
Very good, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. I just thought I'd touch on two things, a couple of positives from today and something I think for the future. I just think something that people may not have seen much of is McPherson today was really proactive with his running, and he was, taking some handball receives and running through the middle. I thought that was really good attacking. And we need to sign Davis for another year or so. I think we just got to grow a pair at the trade table and trade someone like Smith or Kelly and let Davis do that role and get a second-round pick or whatever we can and pop Davis in there. Sign Gollant as well. He's going to be fantastic.
God, why wasn't he signed at half-time, Lockie?
Maybe they're waiting for him to kick a goal.
Oh, geez. He's got some natural flair, that kid, and we're sort of getting off format here, but who gives a shit? You know,
It's our last game of the season for us.
I think Lockie needs to do what Chase has obviously done over the last couple of years, Nicky, and that's harden up a bit. But doesn't he show some natural ability, Lockie Gallant?
Yeah. And look, you got to think. Sorry, Nicky, but as the commentator said, he's actually put on, and he's like a string bean, and he's really put on 15 kilos. He's got about another 15 kilos to put on.
Yeah. He was like you. If he walked past you inside on, he kind of looked like a piece of paper. He was so thin as a footballer, and then he had those injuries, which I think allowed him a bit of time in the gym. But it was also quite funny. The dietitian was also said to him, "It's like, well, everybody else has to watch your weight. You need to eat everything."
But his ability to get into aerial marking contests that he was completely out of position for. Not only the one that he marked in the last quarter, but there was one in the first quarter that he nearly took, where he was similarly out of position and just got there. He's obviously got a hunger for the ball aerially.
And that one for me was one of his first contests that he came onto the ground. Normally, a new player into an AFL side, that kind of contest coming, you would have possibly not tried to go for it because he was well out of it.
Yeah.
And he was just like, nah, stuff it. I want to try and get this ball. And the fact he nearly did was absolutely spot on what I've heard he's been delivering in the SANFL. And
why isn't he signed? Why haven't they signed him?
I wonder if he actually is, but they haven't announced it.
Oh, possible.
I think I was going to answer that question when Lyon talked about, I think he was talking about Benny Davis, that we should be signing him. The problem that we've really got is there's still a couple of uncontracted players, and and I suppose Crouch is one of them. They're waiting to see what happens there. And there's another player too in a very similar situation, but. That's what going. Kelly, that's the one. Those
but
two.
Isn't Kelly also got a free agency like Crouch?
No, they both have. That's the point, Nicky. And until we know whether they're going to exercise their free agency or whether they want to stay with the club has offered them contracts. Now, it might not be the contracts that those two players want, but they have been offered contracts. If they accept contracts with the club, then unfortunately, players like Ben Davis, etc., will have to go because unless you've got to go to the draft I've worked out that if we want to have 5 players, say 5 draft picks at the draft, most of those players down the bottom end will have to go.
Well, Macro, I'd like you to keep your draft research for another episode. Otherwise, we'll be here for 4 hours.
I won't go any detail, and you know what it is. So it's really. Can we trade players in? Are we going to sign up the free agents? The free agent's going to be traded out. That's going to determine Ben Davis. And maybe one other down the bottom. And until then, we won't know.
Yeah.
The thing with that, the funny thing with that is we know exactly the ceiling that Kelly or Smith can give us, where Smith has his maximum value now. Whereas Davis, we haven't seen his full potential. He's very classy and skillful. He's only been for a couple of games. I think we should grow a pair and have a look at him.
Agreed. The only problem with that is one's proven that he can play AFL football over a very long period of time. Ben Davis has been around 5 years and he's played 4 games and 2 of them were very poor in the forward line. Not given much opportunity, I agree. And the 2 good games, or respectable games, have been in the back line of where we've got plenty of players. Now, you mentioned McPherson, and I thought he was outstanding today. I thought that's probably possibly the game he's played for the club. And we've still got other good players out that didn't play in the back lines. I don't think the back lines are our problem.
No. I
No.
reckon Shane McAdam might be one that pisses off to Fremantle, leaving a spot. But anyway, we can't digress on that because otherwise, as I said, we'll have a 6-hour podcast and
Right.
we're going to have a draft and trade. We're going to have plenty of draft and trade podcasts coming up over the next few weeks. So let's hold fire on that. Tom, you got any other thoughts before we let you go?
No, that was it. I think just if you think back to a lot of really good players in the AFL, like Selwoods and Sloans and stuff, in their debut games, they didn't really do anything. But if you look at Cook or Gollant today, they've done really, really well for their early games. So it's very good signs, I reckon.
Agreed. Let's not forget that today they're playing against Witches' Hats, but nonetheless, they still showed something.
Very true.
Or witches' hats that if they actually managed to get the ball in the clear, then had to fumble and fall over.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lion, for coming
Yeah.
on and for your
Thanks,
support
mate.
during the season.
Thank you.
Very good. And if anyone else wants to pop in, feel free to do so. Now, Mac, speaking of audience interaction, and Nikki, I should say as well, speaking of audience interaction, unbeknownst to anyone in Discord, they would have seen, as has just popped up there, Inquisitors advanced to level 4. I've been keeping track of our main contributors during the course of the season, and I just want to... What do I want to do? I want to do something here. I'm just going to do this, and I'm just going to do this. Right, and PJ Crows kindly arranged during the course of the season for some Crowcast mugs to be produced, and there it, hang on, let me get it in the screen. There it is there, with 100% on the back. Excuse my coffee stains. Right, very grateful to PJ Crows for arranging that. There were also some stickers that are over there in a box somewhere that I haven't got out. And what I'm going to do is give away, what have I got? 4 mugs to give away. So you can see that over the course of the season, J-Mac, surprisingly, because I thought it would be Vardy, I really did, and Vardy'd be spewing, I reckon, if he knew this was actually happening. J-Mac, with 1.9k messages over the course of the season, gets himself a mug. Vardy Magic gets himself a mug. Now, Razor, I don't know whether I can get you a mug, but I'm happy to get you a mug if we can arrange it. the postage might be worth more than the mug, so I might have to work something else.
It will.
PJ Crows, I don't know whether he wants a mug because he arranged a mug, but he's certainly entitled to have one. And Submariner also gets a mug. There'll also be a few other people that can get themselves some stickers. So what I'll do is at the end of this show, probably over the next few days, I'll just DM some people, and if you would like to cash in, ka-ching, you'll have to DM me a postal address, and I'll get those over to you. But look, you know, I mean, the support that we've had over the last little while with, well, not over the last little while, over the last, 6 years of the podcast, guys? 6 years of the podcast. It's, I think you'd agree, Nikki and Macca, and I know Pete's in the chat, he'd agree as well. It's kind of humbling because...
If they keep talking to us.
Well, you know, I mean, it was pretty humble beginnings, but nonetheless, you guys are the reason why we've been able to keep going for 6 years and sort of turn it into what it is at the moment. So, you know, we really appreciate it. You know, the support that we get on Patreon, the support that we've had through other platforms, but most importantly, the support that we get every time we turn on the bloody stream, whether it be a Sunday night, a Tuesday night, some of the other shows that we've had, the Rev Up show, and you know, shows like that over the course of the last 5 or 6 years. The support has been incredible, and I just really want to send a shout out to everybody who supported us over the course of the last 6 years, and particularly over the course of the last couple of years where the fortunes of the Crows haven't been all that positive, and we've had to deal with COVID and lockdowns and all the rest of it. It blows me away. I'm very humbled by it, and I'm very grateful for it. And I'm sure that I echo the thoughts of Nikki and Macca in just passing out a big thank you to everybody for supporting the Crowcast.
Totally support what you're saying there, Pete. I love the guys in the chat. You know, even if they say I'm talking crap or whatever, because you know they it's like everybody. Everybody's got an opinion, and they're entitled to have it. And we express ours. They either agree, disagree, but I'll be honest. I steal a lot of the ideas off of them anyhow. So
that's right.
I love the boys out there.
We don't actually have any idea, do we, Macca? We just read the chat and go, oh, yeah, that's a good point. We'll raise that one.
We used to cheat in exams. Now we just cheat off the chat.
I didn't cheat in exams, Macca. But I totally cheat off the chat.
Yeah, no, they're a good bunch. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah,
fantastic.
It still absolutely blows my mind that we've been doing this for 6 years.
I know, right?
It's insane and hilarious, and quite funnily enough, our very first player interview was David McKay.
It was too. Nikki, as usual, you're spot on and right on point. It was, and for a long, long, long time, it was our highest rating episode ever. D-Max interview.
And to be honest, it was an amazing interview.
It was great. And if anyone wants to hear it again, I'm pretty sure it's still up on Spreaker in the interview section, as with all our player interviews. So get around it if you want to have another listen to that. But you're right. I think at that stage, I think we were only getting about 200 listens a week. And D-Max scored about 800 or something like that. It was ridiculous.
He did.
Nicely done.
Anyway, look, we won't carry on, but just everyone in the chat, everyone listening to us on YouTube, everyone who gets around us on all the different platforms, just a big thank you. And that's all the gratitude you get from me for quite some time. All right, let's move on to the bloody game, shall we? Right. What was it doing? I'm all flustered now, Mac. I'm a bit emotional.
What was the score?
I don't know. Oh, yeah, it was the Crows. 13-20, 98 to North Melbourne, 8 goals, 654. A margin in the end of 44 points, which is enough for us to jump a couple of rungs on the ladder. And as we've already discussed, a pretty good way to send off a couple of veterans. A good start by a young debutant, and a nice, happy, positive way to end the season, notwithstanding the draft situation, which we won't really dwell on, I don't think, tonight. Matt, Nikki, anyone?
I was waiting for Macca to go, and then there was silence, and I was like, you know what, I'm leaving it here. This is going to be funny.
No, I've been diving all the time. You go ahead, Nikki.
Oh, it was so weird because I really do want that pick too.
Yeah.
Bastards. But the way they played, the young guys, they just look so much freer. I did get the feeling that North weren't trying that hard, possibly.
It didn't seem like it, did it?
Yeah, there were some very interesting fumbles when they were completely in the clear. And I must fall over now. I thought they had a number of Richard Douglases playing for them. But the way that we moved the ball, there were some beautiful slick handballs. The youngsters taking those steps up again, which we just wanted to see. Some of the others just continuing on that little trajectory that they've been going. Overall, it was a good game in that respect. They kept trying to get goals for Lynch and McKay. I thought it was quite funny that it was like towards the end.
It was good though.
Yeah, Oh, it was. And the reaction from the players to those. And between the two, you had Gallant finally kicking his first goal as well.
Yep.
So I just thought that was just a really nice little send-off too, but there's a bit of the future, hopefully.
The only thing I was disappointed about, and I noticed it was touched on by someone on the chat earlier, was that we didn't see Daniel Talia. And
no, he was there because he was there before the game, gave a speech on the ground, and then he did a bit of a walk around as well.
Oh, good. Okay. I didn't see
So
that on the telecast.
Yeah, they didn't show it on the telecast. It was pre-game.
Good.
And also,
I'm pleased about that.
And also pre-game, they did an amazing welcome to country, which had both teams lined up for it, which was really nicely done.
Yeah, I did see that. They did show that, Nikki.
Oh, that was really well done. But so they did those, and Tales just kind of talked about that maybe
I'm glad that DT was there.
Yeah, it's still whether he would play on or not. He'll just take his time and think about it.
Right. Okay. Well, that's good. Let's run through some head-to-head, shall we? And not surprisingly, we shout on them basically. 418 to 315 disposals. Oh, this thing keeps refreshing, which is annoying. 222 kicks to 175, 196 handballs to 140, inside 50s, 57 to 37. Disposal efficiency 76 to 72. Our efficiency inside 50 was good. 37 shots from 57 entries. We could have kicked a bit straighter. That would have been nice. Free kicks in North's favour, surprisingly. I didn't think that umpires had a bad game. Hit outs 37 to 45. Excellent, considering who was on the opposition team. Clearances, we absolutely destroyed them. 42 to 26, including 14 to 6 in the centre and 28 to 20 around stoppage. 152 to 111 possessions reflects the fact that I didn't think North were up for a bruise today. Uncontested possessions, obviously 266, 190. North turned it over a little bit more. Won't spend a huge amount of time on these. Marks 90 to 69. Marks inside 50, 22 to 9, which is excellent from the Crows. Contested marks 14 to 5, also good. Intercept 64 to 55. And really, tackles pretty even, 57-67. Tackles inside 50, always good when we get into double figures, 13 to 8. And the rest is just blah, blah, blah. So, pretty much a destruction by the Crows, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And that forward pressure, even without a lot of those tackles, there was a lot of pressure, even when they were trying to switch it. We're very on the ball about it. And we got a number of repeat entries as well. Just the way they were pressuring up was very good.
Agreed.
Go
on, Matt.
I just like the type of game that Nick's is trying to get the boys to play. But the handball, the run, and moving the ball as quickly as they did. Sometimes it's very risky, and when it comes off, it is absolutely fantastic. And as they do it more and more, they'll become more proficient at it. The one that really surprised me, like somebody like Cook, who's only just been in for a couple of games, he fitted in beautifully into it. And I think that I reckon next year will be a good year for us. I think, I'm not saying that we're going to be premiers or anything like that, but I just think the style of footy that we're playing and with the boys buying into it, it's going to be very good. I enjoyed watching the game, but I just had this horrible, same as you, Nicky, this rotten thing. I could see a thing called Pick 2 with wings on, fluttering away and going into the...
Yes, Macca. Let's not talk about that, shall we? Look, all right. Let's have a look at some players. Rory Laird had a huge game. 40 touches, equal PB, I think. 14 kicks, 26 handballs, 4 marks, 8 tackles. As you can see there from the heat map. Got it all over the place, but a fair bit in the middle. 17 contested possessions, went at 85% disposal efficiency, which is pretty good for Rory. 24 uncontested possessions, only turned it over 4 times. 10 score involvements. What else have we got here? 370 metres gained, attended 27 bounces. Got 10 clearances from those 20 attendances, which is pretty good. 3 from the centre clearances, 7 around stoppage. 8 tackles, as I mentioned. 1 inside 50. So a pretty solid game from Lairdy.
Yeah, and I just on Lady, did you watch the replay and heard the comment that you always know when Lady's going to win? It was made by Marashuja. You always know when he's going to be our best and fairest because the golden jacket's very small. Oh,
Yeah.
the classic.
Very good. Benny Keys, Nick, you mentioned that you didn't really notice him around the from up where you are, but he had 38 touches, 20 kicks and 8
I
on
know.
handballs, 4
You must be
marks, 6
blind, Nicky.
tackles, kicked 2 goals,
Well, no.
if you don't mind.
If you look in the chat, you'll actually see the view that I had from my seats. You can understand why sometimes I'm like, I don't know where they were. I saw him a couple of times when I came and I said, oh, that was Keys. But most of the time I could spot other players, but he just kind of blended in with the others. So it was quite funny that, you find out later, you look at the stats and go, oh,
Yeah.
he did get a bit of it.
No, he had a superb game, Nicky.
Yeah. 20 kicks. Sorry, I'll just try and make this fit because it's not really fitting in here. Oh, it's a bit rude. There we go. That might be a bit better. Move that across. Maybe not. No. I don't know. We'll keep trying. 20 kicks, 18 handballs, 13 contested possessions, 25 uncontested possessions. That's better. Turned it over 5 times, 4 intercept possessions, kicked 2 goals without a miss, which is always good for Benny. 10 score involvements, only turned it over twice. 621 metres gained, Nicky. Where were you? 22 CBAs for 4 clearances from centre, also 2 clearances around stoppage. 6 tackles, 10 inside 50s. He played a bit forward of centre today. He didn't get back too much. He was getting a lot of his ball around centre and forward. So a pretty good game by Benny for someone who wasn't that noticeable, Nick. Just saying.
Hey, look, I think I've got a very valid excuse.
Our other, we've complained about our 3 old stages in the midfield all season, but I actually thought it was Rory Sloane's best game for the season. I don't know how you guys saw it.
Exactly that.
I think he wanted to put in for his retiring mates. He had 27 touches, 11 kicks and 16 handballs, 4 marks, 7 tackles. When at 78% disposal efficiency, 13 contested possessions, to go with 13 uncontested possessions. What else? 4 marks. Attended 18 centre bounce stoppages for 3 clearances, also 3 clearances around stoppage. Didn't get any hit outs, which is very disappointing. 7 tackles. 2 inside 50s. Pretty good game from Rory. Still a lot of question marks about his fitness or his aging body, but he certainly put one together for his mates this week.
Finished the season off nicely.
Yep. Our biggest trade commodity, in my opinion, Brodie Smith. 25 disposals, 20 kicks and 5 handballs, 7 marks, 1 tackle. A lot of work across half-back, clearing the ball, didn't get forward too much. He had 19 uncontested possessions, only turned it over 3 times, intercept 3 times, 6 score involvements, which is good, off half-back. Took 7 marks too, 1 contested, which is great, 612 metres gained. Not a bad game. 5 rebound 50s from Brody. Pretty good effort.
You mentioned him as our best trade item. They won't trade him, though, Thing.
Well, they should.
It's not a question whether they should or would, should or shouldn't. It's that they won't.
Yeah.
That's
Do you
just
think
it. They
they
won't.
should? Do you think they should?
Yeah, I do, because I think he'd be a valuable piece of valuable item, and we have got replacements. But they won't. They just won't.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely adore Smithers, and I would hate to see him traded, but I agree. He's got value on the trade table to get us some things that we need, and we should be doing it, but they're still very scared of the Apricot Slice Brigade.
Yep.
And they won't do it because of that, and because even though we've had COVID and we've had reduced numbers of crowds, they've still had trouble getting members in. So I don't think our financial situation is very rosy, and they don't want to lose more members.
Yeah, I agree with PJ's comment on the chat that we should have traded him 2 years ago. I was a massive proponent for trading him after 2017, and I was absolutely destroyed on many footy forums. But I still maintain that he, as much as I like Brodie Smith, and I think he's an excellent player, I think running halfbacks are expendable. We've got 650 of them at the moment, including Wayne Miller coming back in next season. I think the days of a long kicking halfback flanker are less than they used to be, because teams tend to chip through zones now rather than trying to clear the lines. We've got Seedsman who can shoot the ball forward when he plays a little bit more forward of centre. He'd be a great pickup for someone. He'd get us a second rounder, and I reckon he's worth quite a bit on the trade table, but I probably agree with you that we won't trade him. But that's how you get players like the next lad, the 2024 Brownlow medalist Harry Schoenberg. 24? Yeah, 24, I reckon. Ironically, 24 touches, 11 kicks, 13 handballs, 4 marks, 8 tackles, kicked 1 goal, 1, including a nice little shot from Eddie's pocket. 10 contested possessions to go with 14 uncontested. 10 score involvements. 382 metres gained. 6 clearances, including 3 at centre, 3 at stoppage. 8 tackles, as I mentioned. 2 rebound 50s, 4 inside 50s. I said to my son Cameron, who sadly lost his knockout final today by 6 goals. Sorry, son. Harry reminds me just a little bit of D. Jarman with ball in hand.
Agree.
Not quite the level, because D. Jarman, of course, was exceptional. But yes, I see why you say.
Yep.
It's that he makes. It's the way he makes everything around him slow down.
He's above the norm, a very, very good player, and he still looks like he's got a little bit of puppy fat on him. But he's surprisingly enough, he does finish games off quite well, but he's just getting more and more the ball, and he's a very confident lad. He's not afraid of anybody. He's not afraid of anything.
That's right. That's the confidence. Cam said to me, Macca, that he's now playing like a player who understands that he belongs at the level. He realises that he's got time. He realises that he's as good as the players around him. And he's unrushed with the ball. He puts the ball to the advantage more often than not. He's a little bit flaky by foot at the moment, but that'll come with time. He's got good kicking action. I think he, at times, just maybe bites off a little bit more than he can chew. But, by God, he's smooth around the contest. He's fantastic around the contest.
Oh, no, I love him as a player, and he's going to be an extremely good player. But, as Bloody Magic said, DJ really is untouchable and incomparable. He was a freak.
Yeah, 100%. Dylan in the chat asked who my son plays for. He actually plays for Murrayville in the Mallee League this season. So every game he had to travel 2.5 bloody kilometres. And they were lucky to play this week, Macca and Nick, because Murrayville's actually in Victoria. and they have to cross the border every week to play. Half their team lives in Adelaide, half their team lives in Victoria. So they actually did very well to make the finals. And that club, every team in their club, all the way down to their Colts, made finals. And the only team that has missed out on a grand final berth is the A's. So pretty good effort by a small country town. Anyway, Nettie McHenry, much to NT Rabbit's chagrin, 24 touches, 11 kicks, 13 handballs, 6 marks, surprisingly only 1 tackle. I reckon that's because he's usually trying to go for the ball rather than the bloke with the ball.
Yep, I agree.
79% disposal efficiency, 10 contested possessions, turned it over 4 times, 13 score involvements, which is what you want from your running half forward / wingman. Took 6 marks, gained 193 metres, didn't get any clearance numbers, although he was doing a lot of hard work around stoppage. 4 inside 50s. Liked his game a lot.
I loved it. As I said, bagged the shit out of him last year. I'm on board this year. I just like his attitude. He's given up all this bullshit about trying to stir up players, and instead he's going for the ball all the time, as you say, which is one of the reasons why he's not tackling as much. And when you think of the number of score involvements he was involved in, that is tremendous, Fiend. And that's a very, very good game from a player playing on a flank.
Yeah. And his engine is huge. Like he doesn't stop. And that alone is a valuable commodity. He does not stop. He's running as fast at the end of the game as he is in the beginning. Rabbit's still concerned about his size, but I reckon Ned's doing everything he possibly can to circumvent or mitigate the disadvantages that he has with his size. And I don't know. There are a couple of other pretty good players that were pretty short that did all right. Byron Pickett, Caleb Daniel.
Well,
Not
to
saying
me,
he's up to that level yet, but if he keeps working, he might be.
I think he actually tries to use his size as an advantage, as well in some situations. So just his game today, particularly, he didn't quite get the ball when there was a lot of the ball ups, etc., around the midfield, but just the way he was working around that pack and through it, it was exactly what we needed to see, and I think it helped create a lot of shots on goals that we were having, from the way he was very dynamic and keeping that movement around. But you're spot on that towards the end of the game that he's still running at the same level he was at the start of the game, and that is just an absolute key to keeping his spot next year.
Yeah. And, I'd said Byron Pickett. I could name a few others. Winston Abraham. Boomer Harvey only played a lazy 400 games. I think he was slightly taller than a garden gnome. There's precedent. And yes, I think it is a disadvantage for Ned, but I don't think he's going to die wondering to see whether he can get over it. Sorry, go on.
I had a laugh when NT Rabbit said that Byron Pickett was twice his weight. Well, if you see him again now, he's twice his weight again. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, pretty good pasture Byron's been on. Caesar's pretty quiet. 23 touches. They obviously tried to blanket him a little bit, but he's still got enough of the ball. Tommy Lynch had
He was tagged.
Yeah, it's about the only effort they put in.
He still did quite well in creating some nice space and run. Wasn't always used when he was free.
Yeah. I still did some very good things, but they definitely did pay a lot of attention to him.
Yeah. Hey, PJ, just relax, mate. We're allowed to have a bit of hyperbole on this show. He's complaining because we've compared Harry to DJ and Ned to Byron Pickett.
Well, I didn't say the latter one. I'm not with the latter one.
I don't think PJ actually wants a mug, Mac, to be honest with you. I think I might just take that one away. Tommy Lynch had a Tommy Lynch game. not too much more to add. Great career with the Crows. Was a critical component of our premiership drive back 2015 to 2017. Was pivotal in Don Pite's game plan. Played the game very well to that plan, and limitations aside, and annoyances aside, was a great servant of the club, and I reckon he'll continue. I reckon the lure of 2 or 3 years at 300 or 350 might be too much for Tommy to ignore.
So what are you suggesting there, Fink?
I think he might play on.
You don't think he'll take the coaching role?
I think he will eventually, but you don't get paid 300 a year to coach.
Yeah, well, that's a good point.
And he wants to play.
Yeah,
Well,
look, if someone chucks him two with a trigger at 300 a year or 350, that's $1 million you're asking him to turn down.
That's fair comment. I wouldn't blame either of them. Whether Talia, I think, will most certainly get picked up and will most certainly play for another club. I reckon he'll get 2 or 3 offers at least. Lynch, and a half forward flank, not so many, but he may well be offered Gold Coast, somebody.
Yeah, I reckon he'll continue if he gets an offer. McPherson, as you said, had a pretty good game, 22 touches, 16 kicks, 6 handballs, 2 tackles. Really recovered well from what may have been a bit of an injury-hampered beginning of the year. I recall back about round 4 or round 5, Nicky, that and it might have been against, I can't remember who it was against, but he seemed to be, I reckon he was carrying ribs. I recall him getting a tackle and really getting up, holding his ribs, and I just wonder whether he might have been carrying something for a few weeks.
Possible.
Anyway, he's bounced back really well. DMAC, say what you like about David McKay, one of the better club men that we've had. You don't get to 248 games unless you're contributing in some way, and he had a DMAC game, 19 possessions, 4 marks, 2 tackles, 8 contested possessions, didn't shirk a contest right to the very end, was very intent on kicking a goal in his last game, and after a couple of failed attempts, finally got one, which was fantastic to see, and it was great to watch the boys get around both DMAC and Chief for getting a last game. I must admit, well done Lockie Murphy too, for as soon as he got that ball, Lockie Murphy, all he wanted to do was pass it off to Tommy Lynch. So well done to him. And
there was a double lead from Lynch to get to that space in order to do it. They were trying very hard, Northward, to not allow Lynch to get the ball at all. The other one with DMAC, I think I made the comment to my sister in the first quarter, was he might get his goal by 6 points.
Yeah, well,
the way he was going.
Well, it was 4th time lucky, Nicky. 4th time lucky.
We have bagged DMAC on this show. He gets an absolute shellacking on social media platforms, on footy forums and all the rest of it. But what I'll say to all of those people, whether you like him or you don't, he's played 248 more games of AFL football than all of us. So well done.
Damn straight. And he's absolutely adored by the players. Just the way they reacted just showed exactly how much. From the first ball up, they were trying to get the ball to him and to Lynch. They wanted to send their mates off in style.
Yeah. Now, and the part of the new breed, he might have been quiet last week after a good first showing, but Braden Cook, 19 disposals, 8 kicks, 11 handballs, 2 marks. Went at 84% disposal efficiency, 13 uncontested to go with the 6 contested possessions, 4 intercepts, took 2 marks, gained us 300 metres, 4 inside 50s. He looks like something.
Well, I said to Mrs. Macker, she said, "Who is that player?" And I said, "It's Braden Cook. Just remember the name because he's going to be very, very good." Yep. I said, "This lad, he played school footy last year mainly, And I said he's had a slow start to the year with a little bit of injury. And he's out here and he looks as good as anybody else out there and he looks as comfortable as anybody else and he uses the ball well. I said, this is going to be one hell of a good player.
Probably the only good thing to ever come out of the Happy Valley Football Club, Jadame.
That's not true. That is not true. If you've ever been there, they make great steak sandwiches, mate. They do.
I used to play tennis at the Happy Valley Tennis Club, but I played my footy juniors at Flagstaff Hill. We didn't like Happy Valley very much. Anyway.
Just his hands are just so quick and absolutely elite. I saw a comment earlier in the chat. Somebody said, "Oh, they kind of went a bit backwards." It's like, no, every single one of his handball was so proactive and was getting the movement around, which is absolutely suits Nick's game plan to a T. I love the fact that they're playing him on the wing, and just because that quality, and he can deliver by foot with quality as well. So he's got the height, he's got the speed, and he's just got that elite decision making. And I'm trying to remember who it was who said, but it looks like everybody else slows around him.
Yeah, he's got time.
Yeah,
he creates time and he's got composure.
Yeah, Rabbit just teeing off about Flagstaff Hill in the chat. I was in the inaugural under 16 and under 18 squads in the bloody back in the day, Rabbit. So bugger off. Who did you play for? Braden Cook, bit of a Stevie J clone, in my opinion.
Well, there is that sort of quality about him. I agree, Feen.
Bit of mercurial stuff and a lot of time and good hands and very skillful. Seaton Ramblers, god damn. All right.
No, seriously. So he really is probably, of all the players we drafted apart from Philthorpe, I think he's probably definitely the best.
Very good. Now, humble pie time. I wish I had a piece of pie that I could just stick in my face, but I don't. Strawny. Even the bloody commentators were calling him Strawny.
Ginger.
Look, let's go beyond. Let's go beyond what he did against Goldstein, because that in itself was good. But he also had 18 touches. Right?
I know.
He got amongst it. It didn't take a lot of marks, but he got 18 touches. He was involved in the play. He had a decent pair of hands, 9 contested possessions, 9 score involvements. We will talk about Kieran some more on Tuesday night, I am sure, because Pete's up and about Strawny. I must admit, the improvement in Kieran in the last 12 months is unbelievable, because when I saw him play last year, I didn't even think he was close to being an AFL footballer. He was a mature ager, and I thought, nah, that's his ceiling. He's got no more improvement in him. But my goodness me, what an improvement. And Riley O'Brien needs to start watching his back, in my opinion.
Well, he did. He looked very comfortable. A guy his side, bending down on the ground to chase the ball down there as well. He just really took me by surprise. I did not expect him to be as talented as he is.
Yeah, Jad mentions he's out of contract, but he was only put on a 1-year contract after last season, and JR should have been lining up behind Lockie Gallant's contract to put one in front of Strawny, I think, as well. And I don't mind being wrong when it results in someone like that getting the absolute best out of themselves, and he certainly has. And a stat that I don't have here, but I heard mentioned during the telecast, was the amount of hit-outs to advantage that he had over Todd Goldstein. Was far more effective with his tap work. I think that may have levelled up a bit after half-time, but certainly in the first half he was certainly more effective with his tap work than Goldie was.
And what I love is often when he goes up and you can see his hand change in the air. to adjust where he's tapping to, depending on what happens with the other ruckman as well. And that ability to change up your hit zone was so good. But even when Goldstein was actually getting the tap a couple of times in like the first quarter, we were roving much better to him than North midfield were. So even if he was getting a tap, it was under pressure. We were picking it off. But his ability below the knees, really getting to good spaces as well around the ground to provide an option a couple of times. So we're like, why have you given it to the... Don't give it to the ruckman running past. There was only one of them where he got caught and done, but the rest of the other time they used him really well as part of those chains and moving the ball forward.
Yep. So a very pleasant late season surprise, Kieran Strawn, and probably a little bit of a dilemma in terms of what we do, and does it have an impact on Elliot Himmelberg's position, Frampton's position, because those blokes were probably relying a bit on their second string ruck work in order to stay on the list. But how many tall rucks do you need now? So interesting, particularly with kids like Gallant coming on, and we've got Josh Worrell down back. Interesting. It's going to be so interesting, fascinating this off-season. Chase Jones had a good game, as we mentioned. Lockie Gallant had an excellent debut, 11 touches, 7 kicks, 4 handballs, 3 marks, kicked a goal, 6 contested possessions. Did not look out of place at all, despite his wafer-thin frame.
No, I liked him. I thought as the game went on, he just got better and better. And it's very hard, just to jump straight up into AFL footy and from SAFL footy. But yeah, he had a real crack. A few more. He's put on 15. He needs another 25 or something. But he needs perhaps another 15 kilograms, and then I think he'll be a very good player for us.
And he's got a bit of speed, which we didn't quite see all of that yet. So I hope they have signed him up and we get to see some more from him next year.
Well, they haven't signed him up yet, Nick.
No, we don't know, Macca. They haven't announced it, but we don't know whether he's signed up or not.
Well,
he's got tricks. That's what I like, seeing a forward that's got tricks. That's what I initially liked about Shane McAdam, but his defensive side, and we'll spend a moment on Shane in a moment. But Gallant, there's something about him. He's got a great character. He's obviously endeared himself around the club. He's demanding of selection, all the things you want from a kid. It feels like he feels part of the club. Let's just hope that the club stitch him up. Shane McAdam, 14 touches, kicked 3 goals, including an absolute belter of a mark in the first quarter.
Oh my God.
Again, I think he's a trade bait, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he's always expressed opinions about, and he has expressed opinions before that he would like to go to Perth one day. He never actually says when, but if he was up for trade and somebody wanted him and we've got to reach something reasonable for him, yeah, I'd trade him.
I think he's Freo's answer to Liam Jones.
Yeah, that could be all right.
Well, they're looking for someone a bit mercurial. Waters isn't, getting any younger and all that sort of stuff. He's a WA boy, as Surfos mentions on the chat. Or Walters, not Waters. I could see him slotting in quite nicely at Freo. And as we mentioned, Freo just need a few around the edges there to lift themselves another rung. I wouldn't mind betting that Shane heads west.
And the fact that we've still got him contracted next year, don't we?
We do.
So if he does want to go, and if we do want to trade him this year, it means we should get some nice value for him because he is under contract already. And the other thing is that he would be now willing to go to Freo because Lyons isn't there anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, what would you be looking for him though? What, second rounder?
Oh, I think
You
might
try,
think you
see if
might
you could get it.
struggle. I think you get a third.
No, but you try for a second.
Yeah, I know, but you get a third.
Well, I don't know. We're dealing with Freo.
No, no. Let's. We try to keep things real on the Crowcast, you guys. It's a bloody
Hey,
third rounder.
we've done well with trading with Freo before. I'd like to keep that up.
Anyway, so that was it with the players, pretty much. Not much more to say, really. I mean, look,
Yeah,
it was
well,
a good way to finish off. Of course, you know, we've got the issues with the bloody,
The pick.
with the pick, of course. Is a bummer.
Yeah. One thing there about the game though, one player was missing, Kelly, and I thought our back line worked a lot more smoother and quicker without him in that back line.
Now, Mick's in the chat, and he wants to have a chat, so we're just going to bring Mick in. Come in, Mick, when you're ready.
Oh, you got
mate.
me?
Yeah, gotcha. How you going? Good.
I just want to put my hand up ages ago. We're talking about Mick Henry. I don't know whether people realise he's actually 3 or 4 centimetres taller than Zorko, and no one seems to think he's too small.
There you go. There's another comparison. Well done, Mick. Well done.
If he turns into half or even 2/3 the player Zorko is, I think we've got a pretty good player on our hands.
100%, Mick. And the other one, Lockie Neal, he's only about 2'8" as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's not very big.
And
Yeah, well, I mean, their midfield is made of midgets, and they seem to be going pretty good.
and the thing is with Neil was that he was an okay player, and then he got an opportunity at Brisbane, and he's just really elevated himself. So, for a lot of people that think, you know, the young players, that's kind of their ceiling, you can still make gains later on throughout your career.
Agreed. It took Caleb Daniel probably 4 seasons, I reckon, to really sort of get into the groove in terms of his career. And now he's almost indispensable for the Bulldogs.
No, he is. He's a great distributor and beautiful kick.
Yeah.
just-
Inquisitor says
you know-
that Neil can kick more than 35 metres. I don't think Neil can kick more than 35 metres. Anyway, sorry, Mick, go on.
And yeah, no, just no. Inquisitor actually said that McHenry can only kick 35 meters, though that other players can kick 50. He is absolutely wrong. McHenry has shown a number of times that he can actually kick 15 meters, and he has done so on set shots.
15 or 50?
He's got a 50. He's got a bloody big kick on him for a little guy.
Bloody big kick. I
Actually,
think you're
just-
exaggerating a bit now.
No, I am not.
I
Go
just-
watch some of their games from the start of the season where he was marking out the 50-meter line, 45 meters out, having shots on goal, and it was going 5 meters past the line. He can kick 50 meters.
He can on a good kick, Nicky. His average kick is probably about 45.
Yeah.
That's still not 35. What they were saying.
I'm happy
They're
to
wrong.
pump. I'm happy to pump Ned's tires up a little bit, but yeah, I think you've been drinking.
Well, I don't know about the length of his kick, but I just think the way he's developing this year, especially the back half of the year, the pressure he puts on the player and the ball, and the way he just, as you said, right, runs all day. I just think he's going to be a really good, player for us. The way if he can develop as much as he had this year again next year, he's really going to be in the 22 for sure.
Mick, that's the point, isn't it? It's the trajectory of his improvement. If he develops at the same rate for another season or two, I absolutely agree with you.
We don't judge him on what he is now. We judge him on what he's going to be in another 2 years.
Yep.
And if he keeps this trajectory, it's going to be quite special. And I also agree with you with Schoenberg. He's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, I think so too. Thanks, Mick.
Thank
Very
you.
good points. Good on
Yeah,
you, mate.
mate.
Thanks for coming on. Now we've got I don't know how to pronounce that. Kieran, maybe? Kieran? I don't know. The guy with his hand up, or the person, I should say. I shouldn't assume. Come in. You've had your hand up for a while there. Get on board there. I've given you the tick. How you going?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Now, how do I pronounce that? Kieran or Chiaran or Kieran? Beautiful.
Sorry, I didn't realise I put my hand up actually.
Oh, well, you're here now. You might as well say something.
Yeah. No, quickly. Yeah, just one thing. I thought it was without Kelly. You just did notice how good, like having everyone who can kick at the back really made a difference, didn't it?
Well,
Certainly did.
I like that comment.
yeah, it was much smoother coming out of defence, much smoother. There's none of these great big pauses, look around, wait till everybody's covered, and then kick it to a pack.
Yep.
So, I thought it was much smoother without him.
And did we lose anything defensively with that, supposed Kelly's rock solid, lockdown defence? No, we didn't, did we?
Yeah, I mean you can't really judge it on opponent today, but yeah, it didn't seem like that, did it?
I think we got him covered. I really do. He can go to Collingwood and we can thank him for his efforts, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I've listened to you guys all year from London anyway, so really enjoyed it.
Hey, how's it going over there with the ease up of the restrictions? Is it sort of is it holding firm there?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I mean, because I've had both vaccinations, so like you feel it almost feels back to normal, really.
Yeah.
It's like, even if you get it, and probably you will get it at some stage over the next few years, you'll get it, but you'll be all right because you're vaccinated. That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah.
I mean, sort of my mum's still a bit paranoid when she goes to the shops that not everyone's got a mask or everything.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you just got to sort out your mindset in that regard,
Yeah.
It's just but I mean, it's totally different, and we've screwed up as much as anyone on the all the way through. But I think once all you guys are all vaccinated, I think you have to just get on with it,
Just get on with it. Mate, it's amazing to have you from the UK loud and clear like that with no lag, no delay or anything. It's fantastic. So good to have you along. How long have you been following AFL?
Basically, I mean, I lived in Brisbane for 8 years, and when I was there, I was a sports journalist. I wrote for AFL website for a bit.
Oh, fantastic!
Nice.
But and it was weird, because I didn't know anything about AFL when I first got over there, 2010.
Well, you would have fit right in, mate.
Yeah,
No, they didn't get me on to 2014 or something, so I didn't. Yeah, I knew it, but it was just a bit. Yeah, I started doing it then. But yeah, I followed my missus is a Crows fan from way back.
Oh, good.
And we got the I'm just in my study here. I've got a signed picture of Sloane when he took out Dangerfield on the wall here.
Fantastic!
Oh, that was
fantastic!
Brilliant.
That was a classic. That was a classic incident. That one.
It was just the look
Iconic.
afterwards of it, just the look on his face just seemed to say, "Get up."
Yeah.
I'll say though, Kieran, that you got it. You have it now so much better than what I did when I lived in the UK, because we used to only be able to get the radio calls on the AFL website, and like getting up at 3:00 in the morning, and that was the Gary Ayres years. That was not fun. Getting up to listen to the Crows regularly lose.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, are
you?
You still write over there now? Do you write for like EPL or something like that, or?
No, yeah, I do bits over here, more football or soccer over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But so I do. Been doing for Eurosport and that.
Fantastic.
But
And how long have you been following this podcast?
I'm trying to think. Probably 2018. I think I listened to it in Brisbane.
Oh, you're a good man.
There you go.
But yeah. Okay.
Fantastic, mate. Well, look, thanks for coming on, even if it was accidentally.
No, it's one of them. I always used to think, I should put my hand up, but
Yeah.
You were obviously meant to.
Well,
yeah.
don't let it
good
be your
stuff.
last
Good
time,
speak to
mate. Good on you. Thanks, mate. Take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Cheers.
All right.
Now we got the Arab child here. This is a guy that makes me think of Get Him to the Greek. Have you watched Get Him to the Greek yet, Macca?
No.
Come
I
on,
haven't,
mate. You got to get around it. You got to get around it.
Never
The
seen
Arab
that
child.
before, mate.
What's
Yeah,
that?
I never
Sorry?
seen that before. I
What
never
do you
have
mean? You're
time.
retired, mate. You don't do anything except chase your letterbox down the road.
Well, they keep getting stolen, mate.
The Arab child's a bit bashful, so you've got the green light, mate, if you want to come on, but we'll kick on in the meantime. And we've got Ray listening from Nevada. We've got Kieran listening from London. One of our favourite sons is American Crow, formerly of Cleveland. I think he's in Arizona now. Just fantastic. Arab child, how you going, mate?
Good. How are you guys today?
Good. What can we do for you?
I was gonna comment on Darcy Fogarty.
Yeah, go
He
for it.
doesn't seem to be the future forward for us that lock in. He's not improving as much. But I don't know. Maybe I'm seeing it a bit different. Like he keeps stuffing up marks, and maybe it's the midfield, but he doesn't seem the future locked in forward for me. So I
I'd
was
agree
wondering
that
what you
he's
guys
not
think.
locked in yet. He showed some good signs. He had a good game last week, but he was quiet again this week. He's still got some work to do. What do you reckon?
Watching it from up where I was, just the pattern work that was being done, it looked like he was actually in control of that forward line. He was the one doing a lot of the direction work for the others, and we saw how more dynamic it actually was. There were a couple of things, like he was doing some really good work to protect the ball drop for Tilthorpe, to get him more of a freer run. There was one of the shots on goal, which I think McHenry missed at, but Fogg was the one who actually created the opportunity to begin with, and then was going for the ball at the same time, and he was actually running the better way. McHenry should have actually given that for Fogg to do. To me, I was quite happy with his game today. Yes, he only had that one shot on goal and it missed. But the way that I looked at what he was doing, I was pleased with that game. Agree that he's not a lock, but he's looked a lot freer. Our forward line has looked so much better without Tex there.
Yeah, what about Thilthorpe? He just seems like he's lost a lot of confidence, and that kind of worries me that we kind of picked the wrong player because of Logan McDonald. So I'm starting to kind of debate it. I know it sounds a bit stupid, but at the same time, he just has lost a lot of confidence, and that's kind of worrying.
We've had the discussion in the past couple of weeks on this, in that he's probably should have been rested, and he looks too tired. But with what's happened with Tex, we've brought him back in when we probably shouldn't have, and so that's why we're not commenting too much on his last couple of games. He probably should have been rested. It's his first season. He's a big player. He's been absolutely bashed around by some monster key backs that he's had to deal with. So overall, I think he's going to be fine. He's shown enough that the tricks that he has, what he can do. So I think it's more his progression next year. See what he does with another pre-season under the belt, and hopefully he can last the year out.
Yeah, I thought he had a pretty good game today, actually. And not an outstanding game, but I thought he had a pretty good game. And there's a lot of things that he did, like slipping the compete and slip out a quick handball, etc. And I thought he was pretty handy today. He had quiet games before that, and I agree with what you're saying. I don't know whether I should call you Arab child or what should I call you?
Whatever you feel like. My name's Ryan in real life.
I like Arab. So yeah, I like Arab. Yeah, so Arab, I think that you're right in the sense that his form did go downhill. And Nicky's quite right. He needed that rest very, very badly, and probably shouldn't have play any more this year. But I thought that today I did like his game today. I thought he was up and on the wing. He was around and about. He was more around the ground, and he'll get better and better. He's got the quality. It's there. It's just a matter of developing it to fulfillment.
Yeah,
He'll be
well, we could have rested him and got Fisher Mackesy in, but I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like he would also thinking about it. I was also thinking like he could be our replacement for McAdam. If you think about it, with his marking skills and stuff, like he seems pretty doing well in the SANFL with marks and that. So yeah, I thought we could have gotten him instead of Thilthorpe in this week. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, actually. I think Fish could have had a couple of games this year, mate. Just looking at Riley's stats, he had 18 touches, 9 kicks, 9 handballs, 4 marks, kicked 1 goal, 1. Got up the ground a little bit. It wasn't... I think when you're looking at a key forward, particularly one that's 200 centimetres, you're looking for a different output in your first year compared to, say, a kid who's coming in the midfield. Still 7 contested possessions. It's far too early to judge. I think the big one here is 11 score involvements. So he was amongst it. He gives some good little handballs. He's good below his knees. A bit early, I think, to call it on him, I reckon.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. It was just looking at like.
No, it's a fair point. Fair point. Because we have big expectations on our highest ever draft pick, and it's reasonable to want them to come in and play well. He's had a couple of good games, but I agree with Macca and Nick. The season was probably just a bit too long for him, and I don't disagree with you, mate. I would have liked to have seen a bit of Fisher up forward just to see what it looked like.
Yeah. Another thing I would say about that, Mackesy, he hasn't set the world on fire. I think all of us had virtually written off Jones and McHenry after 2 years. And year 3, and this is their year 3, both of them are now starting to look like good footballers. And Mackesy's had a good grounding now for 2 years in the SAFL. And I would hope that he would move on next year and at least start to be playing some games. If he doesn't, then I think we might have a bust on our hands. But I haven't seen the SAFL games, but I have been told by those who have that he has been improving. But and he will take a longer time than the smaller guys to get there. But we really would want to see something out of him next year. Perhaps like a game or 2 at least, maybe more.
Yeah, makes sense.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for your thoughts.
Thanks, Aaron.
All right, what a big night for the Crowcast.
Anybody would think it was their last game of the year.
Well, lots of callers, audience, whatever you want to call them, fantastic to have the participation. A lot of people making a late run for a mug, Macca and Nicky. People just making some silly comments just to get their points up.
You put out a big prize, though. It's a big prize.
We see you, Judd.
Oh, look, let's bring this one to an end. Just before we do go, just to let everyone know what will be happening during the off-season. Macca and Nicky, I haven't discussed this with you, so consider this your memo as well. I figure we may as well keep the wrap going through the final series and just talk about the finals as they go through. It shapes as being an interesting one, and I'm sure that through all of that there'll be a bit of Crows news to talk about as well. Obviously, Pete and I will be continuing on Tuesday night through the final series, and then, of course, we have lots of coverage during trade week and the draft. As we do every year, we'll probably round out the season with a bit of a list management review, as we always do, and then look at how the draft and trade week is shaping up and follow that through. So we're not going anywhere just yet. I think last year we ended up finishing up around November. So for all those people that enjoy listening to us, we are not going anywhere just yet. We've still got a couple of months of Crowcast left. Does that suit you guys? Are you happy with that?
Very happy with that.
Very happy with that?
New Macca would be happy. Means I'm going to have to actually watch games.
Well, Nick, it is a footy podcast. You might as well watch the bloody footy.
Well, yeah, but I haven't enjoyed I hadn't enjoyed a lot of the style of the other games,
Yeah.
plus a few other things. But yeah,
Well-
but it looks like it's going to be a very interesting final season.
Well, the good thing about this year with list management and all the rest of it is that we've got this live studio audience participation. Can you imagine the opinions that are going to come out of the flock?
Oh my god, I'm waiting for the PlayStation trades.
We're gonna have to start moderating soon.
You have a dump button.
No, look, appreciate it, as I mentioned earlier. Look, all right, thanks to everyone who has joined us tonight. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Thanks to everyone who supports us on Patreon. Of course, if you want to support us on Patreon, go to patreon.com/AFL Crowcast. You can see the names there of the people that support us. It's most appreciated. And we'll continue to run that, of course. And those... I'll DM the people that are in line for the amazing prizes that were put on tonight.
Bloody staggering. Staggering.
I know, amazing, Mac. No expense spared, and thanks again to PJ Crows for arranging that. That was fantastic and a real surprise. So much appreciated. And the coffee tastes great out of a Crowcast mug. All right. Well, look, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone on YouTube as well, and also on Twitch. We will wrap it up for tonight, and we will see you on Tuesday night for the Tuesday Night Live. See you guys.
Good night, all.
Night-o.